upcoming heavyweight fights. We know that Chisora and Parker's coming up. What do you make of both fighters having new trainers in their corner, and do you think it's going to benefit one fighter more than the other?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, Derek Chisora's got Buddy McGurk, you know what I mean, former 2-weight world champion in his corner. And Parker's got Andy Lee, former WBO middleweight champion of the world. So it's interesting, but it's for the first fight. It takes about 5 fights before you readjust to your trainer. So it could be a waste of time. And that's me just being real. What was it? I'll tell you what year was it? 1991. Lennox Lewis, who was then the British champion, fought the Commonwealth champion in Derek Williams. And that's at the Royal Albert Hall. Frank Warren promoted that show. And it was Frank Warren and Frank Maloney that promoted that show. And Derek Williams, who's a very talented guy, Derek Williams, they employed Angelo Dundee to work with him, right? But that was more for the hype to build up the fight. So Angelo Dundee was renowned trainer of Sugar Ray Leonard and Muhammad Ali, two of the greatest to ever do it. And he came over, and it made no difference to the outcome of the fight. And I think at that time, Angelo Dundee got paid £30,000 to work in his corner. So he just literally just came, got his paper and left because Lennox was knocked out there. So I think it was about 4 rounds, right? So it don't really matter. Yeah,
and how do you see that fight playing out? Obviously, we saw Chisora just fight Usyk, and it was competitive. And obviously, Parker's coming off a win over Junior Farr out in New Zealand. How do you kind of see that going, and who do you see being victorious on the night?
You know what? I know both guys really well, but let me tell you this. I got a phone call 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago. My mate was in a restaurant. He saw Derek Chisora. He goes, "Oh, Derek, can I get a picture?" I took a picture. They're talking. "Oh, I know Spencer Fearon. You know Spencer, shut up. You know Spencer, boom." And he FaceTimes me. So me and Derek are talking, and Derek said, "Oh, yo, you know what, Spence? Congratulations with the ESPN gig you got. You know, that's wicked. I got so much time. I've known Derek since 16 years old. I like Josie Parker a lot. He's always a friend of my show, always jumps on the show. Anytime I send him a message, he's messaging back. But I'm going to be keeping it 100. I don't think Josie Parker won his last fight against Farr. I thought Farr won that fight. But I know Josie Parker's got, I think his mind was elsewhere because he's got some dramas about some legal action against him. I don't know if you've seen that, right?
I think I saw some headlines about it, but I didn't kind of read into it.
Yeah, right. So I think his mind maybe not be on. His mind better be on against Derek Chisora. Because one thing I have to give Derek Chisora, he will bring it. Maybe Josie Parker could be a little bit too fast and be a bit too fleet-footed for him, and maybe outpoint Derek. But I want Derek to knock him out. And I like Josie Parker, but I want Derek to knock him out.
You want him to, but do you think he will?
Possibly, you never know.
But yeah, well, that's an intriguing matchup. And speak on the same topic of fighters changing trainers. We saw Dubois change trainer, but stick with the same manager. So obviously he's still being managed by his old trainer.
Yeah, the only reason why he's still managed by his old trainer is because they got a contractual agreement. I guarantee if there was no contractual agreement in place, he wouldn't have that manager.
Right. Okay. So do you think it's a good matchup though with him and Mark Tibbs for the style of his fighting and his career moving forward?
I don't think no one can help Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois needs to help himself. I think all of Daniel Dubois' flaws are not for his boxing ability, but for his mental. I think they'll be suited because I think Mark Tibbs is very old school because of his father. Jimmy Tibbs is well-acclaimed, incredible trainer, right? And we need to start our own British Boxing Hall of Fame, and he should be one of the first inductees into it, right? Now, I'm saying I think Mark can help him just to keep him right, but I think with the problem with Dubois, I think it's all mental. I think he had mental lapses, and then him publicly admitting in the newspapers recently that he took the knee in the fight against Joe Joyce. Even worse, because at the time when he did that, he took the knee. It wasn't Black History Month, and he wasn't doing it for Black Lives Matter, and he wasn't doing it for the remembrance of George Floyd. So he shouldn't take no the other big black guy. That's what I think.